Welcome, everyone. We are now going to begin our session, our conversation with Nobel laureate, Professor Muhammad Yunus. I welcome you all here. And before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that many of us are affiliated with the University of Manitoba and are therefore on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, and we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. And we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities and in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. And I welcome all of you to do your own private land acknowledgement for the Indigenous peoples on whose land you may be around the world. My name is Dr. Charlotte Enns, and I am the director of the Morrow Institute for Peace and Justice at St. Paul's College at the University of Manitoba. I would like to mention that the Morrow Institute is dedicated to the advancement of human rights, conflict resolution, global citizenship, peace, and social justice. And we do this through research, education, and outreach. And today's event is one of our outreach activities, and we are reaching out very far today, and I appreciate that you're all here. I'd like to give a special welcome to our featured guest, Professor Muhammad Yunus, who is attending from his home in Bangladesh. Before we move into an introduction of Professor Yunus, I would like to mention a few housekeeping items and the order of today's events. Professor Yunus will be invited to provide some opening remarks, and then our moderator will initiate questions and conversation. A group of Peace and Conflict Studies graduate students will lead a round of questions for Professor Yunus, and then my colleague, Peace and Conflict Studies Director at the University of Manitoba, Dr. Adam Muller, will coordinate questions from our audience members. Audience members, I ask you to place your questions in the Zoom chat, and Dr. Muller will help sort through that with help from our team and read your questions during the open Q&A session. I hope that's clear. So please turn off your video unless you are speaking, in which case we do invite you to please turn on your video so that we can see who you are. And please note that you will all be muted, and when our moderator leads the conversation, he will help you with that process as well. So I'd like to introduce to you our moderator. It's my honor to introduce Dr. Kauser Ahmed, who was an exchange officer with the Turkish Armed Forces, an observer to the United Nations missions in Western Sahara, and an alumnus at the Near East South Asian Center for Strategic Studies in Washington, D.C. Dr. Ahmed graduated in Peace and Conflict Studies with his master's degree from the University of Dhaka and his PhD from the University of Manitoba. His research interests are social conflict and peace building, radicalism, violent extremism, and UN peacekeeping operations. Dr. Kauser Ahmed, please take the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charlotte Enns. And it's a unique privilege to be sitting in my, my home and speaking and hosting a session with a phenomenal human being present in this world. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and unique honor today to welcome the Nobel Peace Laureate, Professor Muhammad Yunus, to the conversation. And today's event was made possible with consistent support of Yunus Center and Mr. Tanbirul Islam, we are grateful for your support. Ladies and gentlemen, in doing so, I have decided to read a very brief bio of Prophecy Yunus, followed by an excerpt from his Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Muhammad Yunus was born on June 28, 1940, in the southern port city of Chittagong in Bangladesh. In 1965, he was offered a Fulbright scholarship to study in the United States, wherefrom he obtained his PhD in economics from Vanderbilt University in 1969. From 69 to 72, he was an assistant professor of economics at Middle Tennessee State University of Murfreesboro. Ladies and gentlemen, many of you might not be aware that during the Liberation War of Bangladesh in 1971, he founded a citizens committee in Nashville, Tennessee, published a newsletter named Bangladesh Newsletter, and ran the Bangladesh Information Center in Washington, D.C. with other Bangladeshis living in the United States to raise support for the liberation of East Pakistan and lobby at the US Congress to stop military aid to Pakistan. He returned to Bangladesh in 1972 and joined the economics department of University of Chittagong after a brief spell in the Planning Commission. Often referred as banker to the poor, bank in Bangladesh in 1983 to help poor people escape poverty. And beside the Nobel Peace Prize, Professor Yunus won a number of awards, and it's a very long list, and I intend to skip that one and straightway go to a number of other distinguished awards that he holds. And Professor Yunus was inducted as a member of the Légion d'honneur by President Jacques Chirac of France. In January 2008, Houston, Texas declared January 14 as Muhammad Yunus Day, and he's one of the founding members of the Global Elders, chaired by Nelson Mandela. He's a member of the board of the United Nations Foundation as well. Since June 2012, Professor Yunus is working as a chancellor at Glasgow Caledonian University in the UK, and 2015 as an adjunct professor at La Trobe Business School in the Faculty of Business. Ladies and gentlemen, as I promised, I would like to quote some of his wonderful ideas that he shared with the greater audience in 2006 in his Nobel Acceptance Prize. He described poverty as a threat to peace because he sees peace is inextricably linked to poverty. He goes on to say, and I quote here, "World's income distribution gives a very telling story. 94% of the world income goes to 40% of the population, while 60% of people live on only 6% of the world income. Half of the world population lives on $2 a day. Over 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day. This is no formula for peace," and I unquote. And I suppose very little has changed after his speech. On poverty as a denial of all human rights, Professor Yunus said that, and I quote here, "Peace should be understood in a human way, in a broad social, political, and economic way. Peace is threatened by unjust economic, social, and political order, absence of democracy, environmental degradation, and absence of human rights." And finally, I'd like to also share with you his idea of social business, as he mentioned in Grameen Bank's social business platform. And I quote here again, and he said, "Even profit maximizing companies can be designed as social businesses by giving full or majority ownership to the poor. This constitutes a second type of social business. Grameen Bank falls under this category of social business." Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me welcome Professor Yunus. Sir, floor is yours, and you have 15 to 16 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kausar. Thank you for inviting me in the first place. And I'm very happy to get this opportunity to chat with you and share some of my experiences and all the kind of train of thoughts that go during this pandemic period. Pandemic has created a situation where we have lots of opportunities for reflection, looking back and see what we have been doing, why we're doing it the right way, we are doing it the wrong way, what's up for us in future. So it's a good time for reflection, and I'm sure all of us are doing that. And it's also a good time for observations. because pandemic has revealed most of the terrible weaknesses that we have in our system, in our society, in our thinking. So now this is a good time to observe that, because it made very visual. Everything became very visual, because suddenly the train which was carrying us in one direction to reach out to prosperity and GDP growth and all that stopped. We now have to do something else. So what is happening around us? So that's an opportunity that we are not in a regular, usual mode anymore, because that has taken away by the pandemic. The observations that I have been making in this pandemic period, one is how selfish we are in every way, is in a personal way, in a national way. And when the pandemic came, every nation wanted to go back to their own folks, that we have to save these people, forget about what happens to the rest of the world. We have attacked the very common platform that we had to address the common enemy, coronavirus, which was the WHO. We thought we should be all rallying around WHO and give them the support to make sure we fight together and strengthen each other's positions. But we didn't do that. We attacked, some of us at least, we attacked the WHO, and we drew funds from WHO. Even started investigation against WHO. When you are in the midst of a big fight, you don't come with investigations and so on for the very machine that you have built over years to fight that common enemy. But we did that. Now United States have completely withdrawn from WHO. So this is the kind of examples that we have, how selfish, how tribal we are in our attitude and so on. Then that became very vivid when it comes to the vaccine. We are talking about vaccine every day. The vaccine is coming. That is the ultimate that will save us, despite all the second round of surge that is coming from the corona virus in Europe and USA, maybe in Canada also. So here we're all waiting patiently, anxiously to have the vaccine come and protect us from this terrible enemy that we have all around us. That will be the last thing that we can protect ourselves. But then again, we see something has happening. We are being promised that it is coming at the end of the year, at the beginning of the next year, or whatever time it comes. But the rich countries are buying up all the vaccines, forgetting that there are other people on this planet. So whatever vaccine is being produced by big companies, a handful of companies will be producing that. And they will be producing for rich countries, I'm sure. Among this handful, the European countries and North American countries, particularly USA, has bought off almost everybody's first production. Every country, every pharmaceutical company which produces vaccine, USA is the first one to buy up all the production that's coming up, and buying up more than what they need, double the quantity they need. So today, the rich countries that we are talking about, they constituted about 13% of the population of the world. They bought up the entire capacity of the vaccine production of the pharmaceutical companies, without any regard that the rest of the world would be needing that too. Again, we became very selfish in protecting our own folks rather than worrying about the other folks. But it's particularly striking because this disease is not something that you can protect yourself without protecting your neighbors, your acquaintances, either people who live on this planet. Because if you leave it there, it will come back to you again. You don't care about that. You want to just have the vaccine and think that I'm protected, my children are protected, my neighbors are protected. You don't care what happens to that world. So we have been trying to draw attention to that, or the vaccine issue. And I sent out an appeal, and supported by many of the important people in the world, signed by them, and a vaccine appeal to declare the vaccine as a global common good, meaning that it do not have any patent right. The patent is the basic enemy right now. They control the ownership of that, and as a result, control the who gets the vaccine and who doesn't. This is their control. The control of the commercial interest. I said, this is such a thing. It shouldn't be controlled by the commercial interest. It's not a money-making proposition here. It's about life-saving proposition. How to save life everywhere, no matter which country, which type of living you live, but you're protected from this virus, protected from this disease. That should be the goal, and make it available everywhere. So my appeal around and was to make it a public good, public common good, so that anybody can produce it without having to pay enormous amount of money, waiting in line to get the permission, and so on. So this is one. And this is not the first time it happened. When polio vaccine came, Jonas Salk, he is the inventor of the vaccine. He declared right away that this is a people's vaccine. There is no owner about it. There's no owner. It's a common good. Anybody can produce it. It's like, he said, it's like a sunshine. Nobody has to pay for sunshine. Nobody has to pay for the intellectual property right for this particular medicine that we have produced. And it still is a patent-free medicine. So we are saying this is a continuum of that effort that Jonas Salk, what he has started, we continue that. But that's not how the world is moving. The world is moving to grab as many vaccines as you can get, irrespective of whether other people, bulk of the population of the world, have access to that. So there's again a selfishness to the supreme, and we want to make money, billions of dollars of money out of the vaccine. We are not worried about who gets it done, whether people, it's not a mission for saving life, it's a mission for super profit. So you see how we translated the opportunity into a super profit opportunity, not opportunity to save people. So this is another one, how selfishness came into the surface. And we are saying, why don't we create, this is a good occasion to create a social business pharmaceutical company. That's what the need is. Social business is something that we do. We design businesses to solve problems in a sustainable way, rather than make money for ourselves. So it's a non-dividend company, as we said. The world is run by the businesses, as we teach in our classrooms. The businesses have to maximize profit. So the whole world is run by businesses to maximize profit. We said that is the root cause of all the trouble that we created around us. Why don't we create another kind of business to solve problems without any intention of making personal money out of it? And this is a good case. We created many other social businesses. It's a non-dividend company, as I said. But in this case, we can create a global social business pharmaceutical company, as many as we can want, because we want to produce medicine not to make money, but to cure people, give the assistance to the medicine so that people get the reasonable cost, at reasonable cost, almost as a cost price, rather than add the super profit onto it and all kinds of gimmicks out of it, and you have to pay for it. So why don't we do that? So this is another question that comes to my mind. So we continue in this path that these are the things that continue to keep coming back again and again. And another particular thing that you all experienced, and I want to share with you because I felt it very strongly during that period at the beginning of that, when everything stopped. We had the lockdown every place, and people have no place to go. And particularly in countries like India, Bangladesh, or the other Asian countries, African countries, Latin American countries, where bulk of the people live on a daily income. They go out, sell things, they go out, do somebody's petty work, and get paid and have an income for themselves. So daily wage earners, daily income earners. At the very outset of the pandemic, these are the people who dropped, who are hanging by the nails. This is their livelihood. That's how they survive. That's how they continue to feed their children, feed their families. Now, virus, corona, pandemic has stopped all the opportunities for making money because all businesses have stopped. Nobody's buying anything, nobody's selling anything. So you have no income. So they lost their income, they lost their food, they lost their savings, everything. And it's a massive number of people. I would say almost 70% of the world population fall into that category. We had a risky life. They were in the threshold, at the beginning, and the edge of the survival. So that survival economy, how thin was the survival economy? Economists never paid any attention to that survival economy. It came out very vivid, particularly in India. If you have noticed, if you have a chance to watch the television, Indian television, or reports from India, millions of people walking home to get back, because in the cities where they're working, they were daily wage earners, they were daily income earners. Now there's nothing, they can't feed themselves. So they take the family, take the children, walk, because all the trains, all the buses, all the transportation stopped because of the corona. So only way you could do, walk. And their homes are not just a few miles from the city, hundreds of miles away, hundreds of miles away. And they dare to go because there's no other alternative. And I raise the question, what kind of economy has been built that we have not been able to provide survival economy at the place where people are born? They don't have to go hundreds of miles to get survival economy. Just feed yourself, that's all. Feed your family, send little money home so that your children, your family will survive. And that little money is gone now. So why don't we design? What is wrong in designing an economy where survival livelihood will be available, will be guaranteed, that your survival livelihood will be guaranteed around the place where you are born? That's what, you don't have to go any place. If you want to make much money, improve yourself, go wherever you want. But for survival economy, you don't have to leave the place. And it's possible. Simply, we didn't do it because we call all these 70% of the population under one category in economics. Because the informal sector. We call them informal sector. Very dismissive way that you don't count. You are not an interesting part of our subject. As soon as you come to the formal sector, you get a formal job. You have to enter the formal job. We are waiting for you and we are helping you to get a job. Once you get into the job, then you are interesting. We'll talk about you. As a result, entire 70% of the population fall into the category of informal group, informal sector, and neglected sector, abundant sector. And these are the people who reveal themselves during the pandemic. These people are alive. They are now struggling for their survival. I said, if economists simply had redesigned it and looked at it as they are, I said, this, instead of calling them informal sector, they call them micro-entrepreneurial sector. People who do the living by themselves. No government support them, no institutions support them. They support themselves, and that's why they survive. All you have to do, recognize them as they are, call them micro-entrepreneurial sector. What is the advantage in that? Then this becomes a powerhouse of the entire economy. 70% of the population being the entrepreneurs, they belong to the whole entrepreneurial pyramid of the country. You have on the top of the pyramid, you have the multi-billion-dollar entrepreneur. In the middle of the pyramid, you have the multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. In the bottom of the pyramid, which is a huge base, on the bottom of the pyramid, you have the multi-hundred-dollar entrepreneurs. That's all. They belong to the same category. You have all the privileges for multi-trillion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar, and multi-million-dollar. Nothing, absolutely nothing for multi-hundred-dollar people. So where do they go? Where do they find the money? Entrepreneurship needs money. The finance is the fuel of entrepreneurship. That finance is not available to this 70% of the population. And I said, where do they find the money? They go to the loan shark. Everywhere, whether you are in Canada, whether you are in the USA, whether you're in Bangladesh or someplace else, they go to the loan shark. The name changes. You need some country, they will be calling themselves as a mafia. They will call themselves payday lenders. They call it something else, pawn shops or whatever. But the same category. So the loan sharks give you the money, but extract everything that you earn. So you remain where they are. You cannot get out because the loan sharks are there. So I said, why don't you replace the loan shark? If you're so smart economists, why don't you replace the loan sharks by creating financing system? That's all we need. And that's what the microcredit was. If you reflect, microcredit that we talk about, is a financing system which just fits the people who are at the very bottom level of the economy and so on, provide that. I said, now governments can create a new legislation, new law to give licenses to create micro-entrepreneur banks, which will be different than conventional banks. It will be just opposite of the conventional banks. The conventional bank go to the rich, they go to the poor. Conventional bank go to the cities and the big companies. This can go to the poorest people, to the villages, to the rural areas, to the hilly areas, wherever the people live. So they're people-oriented banking. So that could be social business micro-entrepreneurial bank. Social business because these banks don't want to make money for anybody. They want to serve people like the Grameen Bank does. They want to serve the people, not to make money for anybody. That's what the microcredit is. And microcredit works everywhere. So what, you can't say now, oh, this is not possible. It is possible. So the financing system is very important. And then you have the, you see, 20%, 25% of the population will be in the labor sector. But you have a beautiful thing because you recognize them. Labor is recognized as formal labor. So you have a labor ministry. Every government has a labor ministry. Very powerful minister sits on top of it. And you have an entire infrastructure for labor ministry. You have institutions for supporting them. You have rights legislated by them for the laborers. What did you do for the 70% of the population who are micro-entrepreneurs? Nothing. You should be having a ministry of micro-entrepreneurs. You should be having a whole finance system for the micro-entrepreneurs. You should have a legal system for the micro-entrepreneurs. They have to have rights so that they're not thrown away from the street. Oh, you're nuisance, you can't work here, you go someplace else. You can't do that. You have to give them the rights because they are the people who are taking care of themselves. They're not waiting for anybody else to come and feed them or something doing that. So these are the kind of thing missing. So I said, this is a big mistake that we have done in our thinking process, in our conceptual process, focusing on the urban-centric and the profit-maximizing centric businesses and economy. We forgot the rural economies and the people at the distant places where they live, where they grow things and their own way. We don't pay any attention. We say, send your children to cities so that they can start to find a job for them. Only thing we make sure that come to the city and will find some job and live in the slums. And then when the pandemic comes, you have to go hundreds of miles if you don't have anything else. So these are the thoughts that random thoughts that I have been going through and sharing it with you. I hope we can have a discussion on that. I'll stop here and let you lead me to other questions in case I've deviated from whatever you wanted to talk about.
Thank you, sir, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as you have just witnessed the wisdom of Professor Yunus, as he fundamentally questions the very basis of our economic system. And a couple of very interesting insights that we have gained from this speech of Professor Yunus about the global common good, how COVID-19 has impacted and possibly upended our socio-economic structure. And most importantly, he has mentioned about the 70% of the people around us are not being able to access the social safety net that they deserve heavily. So ladies and gentlemen, just to be cautious about time, I'm switching to the next part of our conversation today with Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Can I just make a little correction in what you said? I didn't say about the social safety net. I'm not in favor of safety net, which is a charity program. I said people are equipped to take care of themselves, and they're doing that. I'm saying that why don't you build an institution to support what they're doing? You don't have to bring money to feed them. This is a completely different kind of thing. And help them to become bigger entrepreneurs than what they are with their own efforts. So that's the system, the ministry and the rules and regulations, regulators, and also the financing system. Those are so this is one little correction I thought I should put in.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for correcting, as these are two different things. I totally agree, sir.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are switching to the next part. And this segment, we are inviting our graduate and PhD students for Peace and Conflict Studies from Maurer Institute to join in. Please unmute your mic. And we have 3 students confirmed, those would be taking part in this session. So, floor is yours. Introduce yourself and pose your questions to Professor Yunus.
Hello, Professor Yunus. Thank you so much.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights with us. My name is Corey. I am from the United States, and I am a second-year student in the Master's Program of Peace and Conflict Studies at the University of Manitoba. You mentioned how microfinancing is such a key part of supporting this micro-entrepreneurialism. My question for you is, are there any other factors that might need to be considered or reconciled when thinking about the startup or continued success of social businesses that may be of a smaller scale, when looking at the local or global context that might already be so fairly saturated with business operations that are spearheaded by multinational corporations?
Well, I'm just focusing on those bottom people, bottom 70% of the people who are left out from the system. I said they are struggling with their own efforts, own talent, own creative capacity. All we need to create legislations, create institutions like microfinance banks and so on and so forth. I'm not talking about the big companies, what they can do. That's a separate subject. I can talk about that also. But this is focusing on microfinance or alternative finance which has not been done to reach out to the bottom people, so that they are all left outside the banking system, financial system. It's not only banking system. It's investment funds, it will be venture capital fund, you have all insurance funds, all kinds of things. Whatever business needs, whatever the $1 billion guy needs, multi-$100 guy needs the same thing. Only the amount is small, that's all. He needs the same thing. Other guy gets everything. Finance is always at this door to serve you. And that's what create the wealth concentration. And Kausar was mentioning about my speech. Today it's worse. What I said then, it's at 64% or whatever percentage of people owning all the wealth. Today, 99% of the wealth of the world is owned by 1% of the population. This is the kind of thing. And you heard it during the primary in the United States, Bernie Sanders repeatedly saying how much of the wealth of USA is concentrated in a small handful of people. So this is nothing new. It is known. But the system continues to fuel that, continues to do that. It doesn't come the other way. It doesn't come to the bottom people. That's what I'm saying. The financing system has to be reversed so that people have the service of. We are not talking about giving them the charity. We are talking about give them the opportunity to do business. And that's what the microfinance is. And microfinance works very well in the United States. It's called Grameen America. It's now working for 12 years in there. There are about 150,000 women take from the microcredit from the Grameen America. A startup loan is under $1,000, $700, $800 beginning, and then gradually you move up. And we have given about $12 billion to these people with perfect repayment, no collateral, nothing, and work in 25 locations in 14 cities in the United States. So even in the United States, same problem. Whatever is Bangladesh, the United States is no different. You go to the bottom, you see that's a completely different world. And that's where it was. So microfinance is a subject that we have to address, but there are many other issues that as time comes, we can explain the other issues also.
Thank you, Professor Yunus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Let's welcome the second question, please.
Hello, Professor Yunus. Good morning. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. My name is Joshua. I'm a second-year PhD student in the Peace and Conflict Studies program in Manitoba. I'm originally from Ghana. My question is, when you made a presentation, you said in these times of COVID-19, every nation wants to go back on its own. And you made mention of the fact that it looks like, from the realist perspective, that all what states seek to do is maximize power. And that's why every state seeks to go back on its own. And the creation of social businesses is meant to solve problems. So do you think that there's an urgent need to reinvent and reinvest in our societies and political economies? And if that is so, do you believe that during this COVID-19 time is the opportune moment to do that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. This is one of the things that I've been raising repeatedly, looking at the pandemic, looking at what is being done. The whole world is so enthusiastic, so eager, so kind of full of drive to take the whole world back to the pre-pandemic situation. So we don't want to stay here. We want to go back to the pre-pandemic situation. Every time this discussion comes, I always raise the question, why do you want to go back? What is there to go back to? Aren't you happy that you're not there? I said, I'm happy that I'm not there. I'm happy that I'm free from them. I said, the world that we are coming from, pre-pandemic world, is a terrible world. It's a world which is about to explode, finish in a disaster. So why do you want to go back to that world? We are lucky that we can escape from that world. I said, that world was a world of global warming. And we are told repeatedly by everybody that global warming will destroy the chances of human beings surviving on this planet. Not in a distant future, in a few years' time. They talk about 2 decades for 1.5 degrees Celsius global warming, and it will be difficult for people to survive in 20 years. And if you extend it to another 10 years, 30 years from now, 2050, we will be reaching 2 degrees Celsius warming, and it will be impossible for people to survive on this planet. So we should be recognizing, I keep saying, we should be recognizing that human beings is an endangered species right now. So why don't we see that we are endangered species? We have no time left. If you go back to do the same thing again, it will be expedited. I said, you're lucky that the train which was carrying us to that path, pandemic has stopped the train. We can get off the train and then build a new train to go someplace else. We don't want to go there. This is a suicidal path. Global warming is one. We all recognize it. Even our children, teenage children, they're marching on the street, calling themselves Fridays for Future. Their message is, they're telling their parents, their own parents, that you are irresponsible people. You created a world which you stole our future. We have not left any future for us. It's not just in one country, in one city. Globally, they are doing that. If our own teenagers accusing us, the parents, that you have stolen our future, what kind of world that was? Isn't that the time that we should be getting away from that, so that we say we will be giving you a safer world to you, rather than stealing future of you? So today, it's almost like we are in a burning house, but we're having a party inside. We're having fun inside. We don't recognize the burning that goes on. I said, please wake up. This is the time to wake up. You have to stop that fire. Otherwise, you'll be finished. Not only yourself, you fix generations to come. So this is one, global warming. Then you have the wealth concentration. Very ugly and obscene wealth concentration goes on every day. We see it every day. And it's getting worse and worse every day. But you don't want to say, well, what can you do? This is the way it works. What do you mean it works? It will explode. Human population cannot accept that. So this is a ticking time bomb. Today you're seeing it. Tomorrow it will explode in a big way. So another dangerous part. Third one is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will make us irrelevant in this planet, because artificial intelligence means we will have no work to do anymore. So we have no jobs. And it's coming, it's in a massive way, not just a tiny way. You say, oh, this will happen sometime. It's not happening sometime else. It's in 15 years, there is now giving us a projections. In 15 years, more than 500 million people will be out of existing jobs. Not the question of getting new people into job. Existing jobs will be work because of the artificial intelligence. Ultimately, what happens to human beings? We become useless people. We are excess surplus in this planet. We have nothing to do in this planet. We hang around here, and the artificial intelligence will say, oh, they're like pests roaming around, consuming, destroying, fighting among each other. They will call up their pest department, say, killing up this pest. We don't want them. Is this the future of our planet? So this is what we have to say. We don't want to go back to this planet, which has global warming, which has a wealth concentration, which is a completely removal of people from a job, whatever job you do, no matter what possible role you want to play. So we want to create a different world. This is the position. So I say, no going back. We don't want to go back. Why? We want to create another one, another world, a world of 3 zeros. That's my position. I say, keep saying, a world of 3 zeros, zero global emission, zero net carbon emission, and zero wealth concentration, zero unemployment. These are the 3 reasons, and we can establish that because we know exactly who is contributing to the global warming. We know exactly how the wealth concentration takes place. We know exactly where the unemployment is coming from. So all we have to do is stop that process and go into the direction. We have to stop the burning of the house. This is one, and also destroy the human existence instead of being endangered species on this planet, which is only is a countdown has begun. We know exactly when the last station is coming. It's very close now. We said, no, we are not going that way. We want to go that way. So this is our chance. And if we want to make it happen, it can happen. It will happen. That's my position. If you just relax, we are in the comfort zone. Okay, oh, it will not happen when I'm here. It will happen in future. It's not as bad as they say. Maybe it's something else. So we go on talking about that. It's up to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Yunus.
Thank you very much, Professor Yunus. Ladies and gentlemen, just to be cautious about time, I will take one last question from the PAX community of students. So go ahead and introduce yourself and ask the last question from the PAX community.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Professor Yunus.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Tomi, and I'm a PhD student in the Peace and Conflict Studies program. And so in your presentation, you mentioned that this is a perfect time to transform our economy into a more equal one. And so my question is that, in your opinion, how well prepared is Canada, and I guess North America in general, to embrace and adapt to social business principles on a much larger scale?
Well, the world is waiting for the leadership from Canada because this is one sane country left in the world which can make decisions different than your neighbors, which make everybody crazy what's happening on the other side of the border. So this is an opportunity. And the whole pandemic, I keep shouting that this is an opportunity for us. It's a pandemic, we see the bad side of it. Of course, it has bad side of it. Good side of it is that this is an opportunity to turn around, because now we are not under the same pressure that we are. The train was moving. We couldn't stop the train, but the pandemic had stopped the train. Now we can get off the train and do something. So this is an opportunity which will not be repeated in many generations after us. So if you don't make use of this opportunity, all the generation, if few generation can survive in this planet, they will be blaming us. You had the opportunity, you didn't take it. You didn't do it. If all I'm saying, if we make up our mind, it's possible. Nothing is impossible for human being. All the capacity of the world is in the hands of a human being. I particularly address the young people by saying, look, you are an amazing generation in the whole history of human being. You're the most powerful generation because you are born with enormous technology in your hand. You're so powerful, each one of you, so powerful that alone you can change the whole world. You don't need everybody else to come in. All you have to do, start thinking differently. If you follow the same old ways, you will end up in the same old destination. So if you want to go to the new destination, you have to build new roads. This is the opportunity to build new roads, new thinking, new ways. I talk about social business. You may don't like it, so you don't have to accept it. I'm not saying that, oh, this is the only, I'm not saying no. I said, this I see is possible. If you have a better idea, please go ahead, do it. But do it, don't just preach it. Do it, you have to do it. And you don't have to wait for the government. Government is not the only agency which can do things. Human being is, each individual is much powerful than the government. But we don't use it. All we do is to take a job. We are so happy, you finish your degree, you get your PhD, get your certificate, then arrive in somebody, here's my degree, give me a job. What? Life is not about a job. Life is about unleashing your creative power. Job is the end of creativity. The moment you take a job, your creativity is finished. Because job is done by instructions, by orders. You are in a prison, you're a prisoner. You have to do things in their fashion, not your way. So be a free person and be an entrepreneur. I keep saying that human beings are born as entrepreneurs, not as a job seeker. But our economic thinking has pushed us into job seeking. I say, oh, I create so many jobs. Oh, they are creating so many jobs. This government is good. They have created so many jobs. I say, shame on them. They imprisoned all these people. Instead of helping them to become entrepreneurs, they imprisoned them in the name of livelihood and so on and so forth. Human being is about creating new frontiers. Job is not about creating new fund. Job is about making somebody else rich. That's why the wealth concentration takes place. Imagine if all the people, just for a second, if you imagine all the people everywhere, or even just say in Canada, all the people are entrepreneurs. Will there be wealth concentration in Canada? No, because all of us picking our own wealth. We are not being used by somebody else to make them wealth and pay us peanuts for that. And they make the money. So why should I work for them to have the wealth concentration and then complain about wealth concentration? I am the soldier who fought for their wealth concentration. I brought the wealth for them because I'm a paid soldier. I said, I don't want to be a paid soldier for the wealth concentration. I want to catch my own wealth and see that everyone else can catch their wealth, because everybody is capable of doing that. But our economic thinking has made us think differently. I said, the social business idea came, not only this, because I said economics translates us as a kind of, a human being is driven by self-interest. That's the core of economic thinking. A human being is driven by self-interest, meaning all human beings are selfish people. All the thing about themselves. I said, that's a wrong interpretation of human being. Human beings are not only driven by self-interest, it's mostly driven by common interest. They're energized, they're inspired to do things for a common interest. But that is completely removed from economic thinking. You're only thinking about the self-interest. The self-interest translates into profit maximization, translates into money-making robots that created us into money-making robots, forgot that we are human beings. We are here to transform the world, transform the life of the people. That's what we are here for. The purpose of life is forgotten. As if making money is the ultimate of everything. I said, that's not what it is. And I tried to explain by saying, making money may be happiness, but making other people happy is a super happiness. But that aspect of super happiness was never explained to us. So we don't know. That's why we said, that's why we need the business to run the other type of drive about the common interest. That's what we call the social business. It is a problem-solving business, a common interest-driven businesses, but with no interest on making money. So there are two kinds of business. One, profit maximization on the one side, maximizing the profit. On the other side, the social business side, zero personal profit. So you have the contrast. You pick it up, whatever. I'm not saying you have to do it. I said, this is your choice. Economics never gave you a choice. I'm giving you a choice. You pick it up what you want. You want the happiness or you want the super happiness. That's up to you.
Thank you, Professor Yunus. Such a wonderful distinction between happiness and super happiness. And I believe everybody would be moving forward towards super happiness. We'd like to invite David Newman to welcome Professor Yunus and pose a question and share his thoughts. David Newman, floor is yours, sir.
Okay.
Professor Yunus, thank you for an abundance of deep wisdom and your call to action for Canada and for the moral and humanitarian parts of every person's heart and mind and spirit has been inspired and stimulated. The fact that we have so many Rotarians on this call is no accident. It is because they have embraced from the very beginning your concept of micro enterprise as something that is very worthy of people around the world that stand for service above self. And what I wanted to ask you on behalf of every Rotarian here is, what would you advise this international organization that, of course, has a presence in Bangladesh, presence in Canada, United States, throughout the world? What would you advise Rotary International and the districts of the Rotary world to do to save our human species from self-destruction? As you indicated, climate change is a huge threat. Our greed is a huge threat. Nuclear weapons are, of course, a huge immediate threat every moment. What would you advise Rotarians to do to help save our species from self-destruction?
Well, each individual can do on its own, and Rotary is a wonderful organization spread out throughout the world. Throughout my career, I've been interacting with the Rotary everywhere, so I'm very familiar. I've visited many Rotary clubs, spoken to many Rotary clubs around the world. So I know the desire to be useful and do things for the society and the community and so on. Two things can be done. It's like you have done the microcredit, like you have done the wonderful role in polio, elimination of polio, eradication of polio from the whole world. And now it is done. So one is an idea that each Rotary club can run a competition for young people, or anybody, business people and so on. Design a social business to solve the problem of, say, water, just to give a, or housing or healthcare. Just design it's a competition. You're just giving a competition, widely distributed and so on. And many ideas will come how to do it as a social business. The condition is a social business designed to provide healthcare for the people who are left out from healthcare. So you'll have many ideas coming. It is a business. It's a social business. It's a business. It has to earn an income and cover the cost and continue. It's not a donation. It's not free service or something. So you do that. And you promise that the first prize will be X amount. Second prize is X amount. Small amount, doesn't matter. Third prize is. But you get hundreds of, or 100 of 100 such ideas come. And pick the one that wins the first prize, give the first prize. But if someone may say, this is such a great idea. Why don't I invest? Or our club, why don't we invest in this idea that they have? And we'll invest in it. Maybe it's $50,000, maybe $20,000. That's their all mean. We can create that. And if you can create that business as a business, and in social business, investor can get back the investment money back, but the business keep running. So you got your money back, you can put it in your fund, investment fund, and come to the next one and say, yeah, we'll have more money, get the next money. So you can try. But some of these ideas, some of these actual social business that you'll be creating in your own neighborhood may be a global phenomenon, just like the way microcredit became a global phenomenon, because it clicked. Because you can do that, it's a business way, there's not a funding from charity organizations or something, you are running as a business. So this is one idea that I thought you can try it out, a social business design competition, and pick the one and give them a prize and forget about it if you want to, or publicize it, that somebody says, hey, this is a great idea. Would you be interested in actually running that business? I'll be invested. I'll be investing in it. Talk to the guy who designed it. He said, I can design, but I don't know how to run a business. Okay, we'll find somebody to help you to do that. Let's try it out. And if you put your mind, lots of, you see, Rotary Club has lots of creative people inside of it. So if you do something, everybody say, okay, I can help you do that. Once it takes the root, once the seed grows, then you can replicate it. Then you can multiply it, pick them up. This is one idea. You can try it out.
Thank you, David Newman, and thank you, Professor Yunus. So we are at the last part of this conversation today, and I'm now turning to Professor Dr. Adam Muller, and Director of the PACS program here to conduct the open Q&A session. And just be mindful of our time. We don't have much flexibility to take the questions. Yeah. But anyways, Professor Adam Muller, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Professor Yunus, for, again, a stimulating talk. I won't take up any time myself, other than to just thank you for what you've already said. We have a large number of questions that have been submitted for today's event. In the interests of economy, there are a number of these questions overlap. And so what I'm going to try and do, at least at first, is just aggregate several of them, not attribute them to any one particular person, but try and get at the spirit of the thing so that we can make some progress on understanding, particularly microfinance. The first question, which is my reconstruction of several other threads tying them together, involves really the structural side of poverty, because of course poverty is a symptom of a consequence of inequality, but that inequality has to do with the distribution of capital, but it also has access to instruments of governance and other kinds of supports that people don't have the same access to. So what does microfinance offer by way of either structural critique or structural reform so that poverty generally, as opposed to specific aspects of poverty, can be addressed by it?
I said I was referring to the micro entrepreneur sector, 70% of the population deprived from the financing system. I said they are entrepreneur. Recognize them as entrepreneur and provide a system where the financing can be done. They will be they're already on their own. You're not doing anything for them anyway. All you're doing now, create a financing system so that they can go and find the finance so they can grow by themselves and take care of themselves. So they will lift themselves out of poverty by themselves. You don't need anybody else. You see, I try to explain poverty by saying it's like a bonsai tree. They take the seed of the tallest tree in the forest, and the seed is a very small seed. The tree which grows out of it is very tall, and you put it in a flower pot, seed in a flower pot. The seed grows, it sprouts, it grows up, but it grows only 0.5 meter, 1 meter long, tall, that's all. Looks exactly like the one in the forest, but it's huge, big one, but this is a tiny little one. We call it a bonsai. It's a cute little thing. And you will wonder why this tree doesn't grow as tall as the other one. Answer is very simple. There's nothing wrong with the seed. Simply, we didn't give the soil on which to grow. So I said, poor people are bonsai people. There is nothing wrong with their seed. Simply, society never gave them the space to grow as tall as everybody else. This is our problem. So in that space, I was adding that finance is a space. Give them the finance, they will pull themselves out. They will start from the bottom with a multi-$100 loan, but they will go to $1 million loan, they will go to $1 billion. Some of them will do. Many of the big people came from the street people, but they became rich because they got the opportunity. Some of the rare example, but you now can multiply it everywhere. So this is the importance of the finance part of it. Then the legislation part of it. In order to make those finance, you need changes in the legislation. Legislation stops you. They harass you. They don't give you the opportunity. I said, why don't you create a ministry of microfinance? Ministry of micro entrepreneurs. You give them all the support. You did support for legislations. You give them the rights, what they can control, they can hold on to. Nobody can push them away. All the men, women, and children, so much. And change the education system so that our children, when they go to school, they will be told that you can be a job seeker or you can be an entrepreneur. These are both options are available to you. If you want to be a job seeker, this is what you do. This is the track you follow. If you want to be an entrepreneur, this is the track you follow. These are the places where you go for finance. This is the places where you go for support. This is the places you go for training. This is the go for whatever. You go there and you have your own chamber of commerce. So you go join your chamber of commerce. They will help you. They will tell you what to do, where to go, and so on. So this is the education system is wrong because they are always telling you we are producing job-ready young people. I said, shame on you, your job-ready young people. You should be producing people, life-ready young people, not job-ready young people. So the whole basis of education is the wrong way. You're just training them into things so that you are smart enough to catch up with the job that you will be getting. That's not what it is. You create a new world for yourself. That's what the education is all about. So these are the things that you have to address. Otherwise, we go to the same mulberry bush again and again. So as I said in the beginning, I said, if you go through the old road, you reach the old destination. And that destination is about to finish us all. And that's why we become an endangered species today. I said, we have to go to a new destination. And new destination can be reached only with new roads. We have to build those new roads. These are the elements of those new roads I'm talking about.
Thank you very much. If I have time, there's still a number of people were asking where you see success in this road building that you're describing metaphorically, right? What countries, when we look around the world today, what countries are doing a good job, or at least a better than awful job at actually managing the competing concerns and allowing microfinance to do the transformative work it's supposed to do?
not only microfinance, just open to ideas and so on. For example, I would say France is a very good country as an example. Pick not only microfinance, all the social businesses, big companies creating social business, big banks creating social business, like Credit Agricole creating a social business foundation, social business funds, and so on. And also BNP Paribas creating their own social businesses, very dedicated social businesses. Danone is a big company, global company, created a Danone social business. It created a Danone Communities Social Business Fund. Anybody who comes with a business idea, they will fund it from the social business idea, they will fund it from their fund. And it now has about 100 million euro in that fund. So many, just in one country, they have what they call social business action tank, meaning all the big companies get together and kind of friendly competition, who can create better social business than others. So I do it in my business is this way. I do it in my territory, but I create a social business. And for France, not for Bangladesh, not somewhere. So social business is not for Africa or Latin America or Asia. It's for your home. You need that because we couldn't solve all those problems. Like we couldn't solve the problem of the First Nations yet. So why can't we create social business to solve the problem of First Nations? We just said, oh, we have given everything. They don't care. That's not an answer. We have to find a solution to. That's what the creativity part of it. That's where transformation comes about. So we are doing the business to suck money out of everybody else. We are not trying to change things for them so that they can become a better life. So it's not somewhere else. It's inside. Wherever you live, whatever city you live, you can say, in my block, the part of the city I am, in my block, not a single young person be unemployed. That's my commitment. And I create a social business for every young person who is unemployed. I can do that. It's not a big deal. All I have to do is to either to transform him into an entrepreneur or to create a business which will absorb him to run it. And I'm not interested in making money for myself. I did it just to make sure I am capable of solving the problems of my block. This is my challenge. And I inspire my friend to do something else in the same block. That's it. I don't have to do the solving of the whole world, but I can do this. If I know how to solve the problem of my block, I can solve the problem of the whole world because the problem is the same everywhere. So I learn from you and I'll do it in my block here in Bangladesh.
That's marvelous. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are just finishing, and it's such a wonderful discussion. And as you know, we can go on, but for the sake of time, we will close it. And now I would like to finally thank, on behalf of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute, Canada. Sir, it is a wonderful opportunity to listen to your wisdom. And now I hand over the floor to finally close to Professor Dr. Charlotte Ens. Professor, it's your turn to close the session, and thank Professor Yunus. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, the hour has flown by, and we are very grateful, Professor Yunus, for your time. We are grateful to the Yunus Center. We thank our partners, the Peace and Conflict Studies program here at the University of Manitoba, and the Conflict and Resilience Research Institute of Canada, and the Rotary Club for your support in this very successful conversation. Thank you so much for all the wisdom and inspiration you've shared with us, Professor Yunus. And thank you to everyone who attended. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of your questions, but we certainly know you've got some food for thought. Enjoy the day and go out there and make some changes, right, Professor Yunus?
Absolutely, that's the time. This is the time. Don't miss the chance.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night from here and good morning for you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.